Shoe Talks Quarantine Edition. Today's day 5 with Brit from TESORO Leathers in Philly. I actually don't know her in person, and this is my first time meeting her, and it'll be exciting for me. She commented on the first day we did this Shoe Talks last week that how awesome it is to keep makers connected, and I've been a fan of her work, so I just asked her if she's up for doing it, and she was like, yeah. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's see if she's here, and we'll ask away, and if anybody has any questions, we'll read through the questions at the end. So yeah, stick with us. Hold on, let me see if how's baby? She's great. She's taking a nap right now. And I actually came, my studio, or like this little workspace that I created, it's in a barn, so it's about like 30 feet away from the house. So I actually don't hear her. I asked my mother-in-law to text me if she wakes up. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you.
I'm good. This is crazy.
Yeah, no, it's great. No, thanks for coming on with me. How are you?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well.
How are you feeling? How are you doing? Like, what has quarantine done to you?
I'm feeling, I don't know, it really differs day to day. Some days I wake up and I'm like, cool, I get to work from home, and I get to, spend more time with my partner who's also working from home. But a lot of days I wake up and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
I usually have a retail store, so I'm really used to seeing people, like new people, old customers, like every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been like probably the biggest day-to-day changes. It's like I'm by myself all the time, which sucks.
Yeah. Is that where you usually spend your days? Oh, so let's talk a little bit. You have actually a studio space where you make your goods. You make them all yourself, or do you have a little help?
So the studio space is very new to me. I literally just got it. I signed a lease in February.
Wow.
So thank you. It was weird timing. I kind of wish now that I might have waited a little longer. But I make all the products myself. So I had in August of this past year hired somebody to help me, and she actually in February went her own way because her boyfriend and her decided to move to Baltimore. So luckily I didn't have to stress about that, about having like an extra employee when all this happened.
Right.
But we had the retail space. It was like retail in the front and studio in the back. Nice. And it was really crowded, like with another employee. It was like we were literally within like 8 feet of each other at all times.
Right.
So I actually decided to get the studio space kind of because of that. But yeah, now I have a studio space and a retail space, and I have to figure out how that's gonna work.
Right. Do you get to go in sometimes to work? Yeah.
So I have a friend / like colleague here in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia, where I'm located, who's a clothing designer, and she has like a small manufacturing team. The name of her company is Alice Alexander, and she specializes in like plus size and like just kind of like custom clothing, which is really cool. Yeah. But she and I basically got the space together, the studio space. And the idea was that we were going to hire somebody to be in the store the majority of the time, and split that cost. Right. Because it's really hard for me to be there all the time. I think like as a business owner, I'm finding that I need to
you need a clone of yourself.
Yes, and I need to spend a little less time just like talking to random customers, and a little bit more time like dealing with my online presence and like that kind of stuff. So the retail space was generally where I was making and selling, but now that's going to change. And I moved into the studio space a week before quarantine started.
Oh no! Wow.
Yeah, so I don't even really know what it's going to look like when it's over.
You haven't even settled in yet, probably. You just brought your stuff, and then did you bring anything back home? Did you bring anything back home?
Yeah, so I have well, I mean, I can show you kind of. I'll flip my screen, but basically I have like a little deck where it's kind of empty for the most part. So I packed everything up so it looks a little cleaner, but I have like a lot of stock here so that I can ship from home. And then I have my dress form, so I can not really drape because I don't really do that, but just so I can like take photos and kind of do more ad stuff. And then I made this really makeshift studio for photography.
Nice. It's
yeah.
Amazing. It looks great. It's your own space, which is nice. Yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky I'm not in New York, so Philly is a little bit of a different world when it comes to the amount of space you get in your apartment.
Yeah. And so if you want to make, like, if you want to make some noise and hammer and stuff, you can. You don't have neighbors that are going to be like, oh, it's a little noisy or
so that's part of the problem, is that I do actually have neighbors that will be like that. I live in an apartment complex, but it's like it's more like a condo complex. So pretty much everybody here owns their units except for like a few of us who rent. But my entire floor is full of like literal elderly people. So the youngest person is in her 70s. So yeah, I have a 92-year-old, an 86-year-old, and like mid 70s.
Wow.
So I can't really hammer. They won't love that.
No.
So I actually didn't bring home. I have since it's handbags, I'm not making any handbags at home, but I have DIY kits that have gotten pretty popular for me since this started, because like, what else are you gonna do? Yeah. So those I basically pre-cut in my studio, brought them home, and then I'm punching out all the holes for the hand sewing and stuff here. So, and that's pretty quiet. I'm just using like the little squeeze guy. I don't remember the name of, but so
I don't know what you call it.
So I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I'm not sewing from here, except I'm gonna start making masks. That I've made some masks before as well, but otherwise I'm just kind of waiting to get back into my studio space, which sucks.
It's hard. It's like a hard decision to make, even going into it. Now it's like, do we not? I'm still hopeful that like we don't have to leave spaces, but it is a lot to take on. I hope you have like, some good landlords, and
I do. I'm lucky. My landlord at my retail store, he is, sorry, I'm plugging my phone in real quick. He is he's a small business owner as well, and his is like, it's like a really small tech company in Philadelphia. He has 15 full-time employees, which I can't imagine right now. Sounds really stressful. So and this is the only building that he owns is mine. It used to be actually where his business was located, and he used to live in the apartment above it. And he owns a house now, but like it's the only commercial building he owns. So he's been really flexible and just like understanding about everything, which is incredible. But my landlords at my studio space, it's like a larger company, so they're being actually pretty understanding, all things considered, but there's harder rent deadlines and stuff like that with them. So it's a weird time for me I've never taken on rent at two places before, plus my rent in my home. So really, like, for me, overhead is the scariest thing. And I applied for like the PPP, and I applied for the Small Business Administration loan, and haven't gotten anything.
I'm a little disappointed to hear all this, like, what's going on, it's going to all the big companies and
huge restaurants. What's the deal with that?
They don't. It's a little disappointing. I mean, not little.
Odd. I just don't understand how they're getting it. Like, how does that work?
I don't know where it's going, but they say they might release the next one. I don't know. We'll see. I'm slowly coming to a realization that maybe I can't count on it, but let's see.
I'm feeling that
give up hope. I think you've got this. You have like a following, and like the customers you talk with, and the kits are great. I feel like you have something going.
Being creative right now, like figuring out ways to like fill people's time is probably the best thing you can do. So the kits have been really good, and I honestly like wasn't sure what that would look like, but it's been working out, and like I've been able to make rent on my own. I applied for unemployment, which was like a whole nother thing, because I've never done anything like that before. And Pennsylvania has a specific one. It's like a pandemic unemployment. And that just came out this past weekend, and I applied, and there's like, they need more proof of stuff, and I'm like, I don't have proof of paychecks. Like, that's not how my business works. Like, It's just, yeah, it's so complicated. And it feels like the government just has no real understanding of like how small businesses run their businesses.
Right.
Which is odd.
Right. Yeah. Oh man. But try to keep your creative, juice flowing.
Yes. That's the goal.
Yeah. If this weren't happening, do you have like projects you have in mind? Like what's your, like, I saw that you have everything. Do you have a story behind your teal color? Like green is your favorite color, or?
It's my favorite color. So when I started my business like in 2015, my sister's now fiance did the logo for me. And it's actually changed since then, but it kind of defaulted to my like brand color because it's just my favorite color and like I use it a lot in my life. And then when I rebranded, I have a friend from high school who's like a really talented like graphic designer, and she does a lot of branding, and she loved the color and was like, this seems like it's really authentic and very like you love. So we kept it as like the name of the color. And then the leather, like the teal leather that's on my website, the one that you used in the picture, it just like became available. Like it's not custom to me or anything. So
okay. Wow.
Yeah, so I just got lucky there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. The green one is actually, it's kind of like a belt bag, right?
I brought it because
that's great.
It's a fanny pack, yeah. So you can put it around your waist, and I make the straps long enough that you could like wear it like this too, or on your back. But yeah, it's just a really simple like fanny pack. I feel like I try to keep a lot of my collections like pretty minimal, so they don't look, I don't know, so they're more universal. Also just minimal is super stylish, I feel like right now. So yeah, the fanny pack is probably one of my best sellers since like Gucci came out with it and it became like a super trendy thing.
Right.
And mine's like I think $1,000 cheaper than Gucci's. So.
Yeah, it's way better. But what's your, like, how long have you been doing it, and like where did you learn, or? So just like a really quick backstory, the reason that I got obsessed with leather. So I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. My parents are from the Lancaster, York area of Pennsylvania, so East Coast, but my dad's job took us to Missouri. And I went to school there, like, elementary, middle school, high school. And then when I went to college, I was at Mizzou for 2 years, which is kind of like the Penn State, it's like the state school of Missouri. And I actually didn't really like it. I thought I just wanted something more like artistic, and the art major there was good, but like there wasn't a lot of options, and I always loved fashion. So I actually ended up transferring to FIT, but their program, I got into Parsons. It was too expensive. They were like, we're going to give you all this financial aid. And I was like, great. And then they gave me $3,000 a semester, and I was like, nope, it's not going to happen because it's so expensive to go to school there. So I held up. And I called FIT and I was like, is there any way I can possibly get into your program? And they said, not our New York program, but our Florence, Italy program has an opening. So I ended up in Florence, Italy for a year, and I lived like 2 blocks from the leather market. And before I moved there, I couldn't have told you anything about leather. Like I didn't care about handbags. Yeah. I think you're muted. Hey guys, sorry, I think she's muted. I'm about to comment. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Super sorry.
No, you're fine.
Where were we? Tell me.
We were talking about vintage leather and like how it's hard to use it in bags.
Yeah, and you said it was hard to deconstruct it from like an uneven and like, and smaller pieces, right? Because
because bags, I mean, at least mine are made of like larger pieces of leather.
And the size is bigger.
Yeah, and also the weight of the leather, which you know so much from like shoe stuff specifically. If you have too thin of a leather for like the project you're working on, it's just gonna fall apart and it's not gonna be as useful for as long. I use a lot of like 6 to 8 ounce leather weight, so the leather it's like a lot thicker. Because I think it just holds up longer, and that way you don't have to line it. I find lining handbags to be like the dumbest thing because it's never going to last as long as the bag does. So at some point, you inevitably will have a bag with a hole in it. And then you're like,